This Good Morning Northwest morning sprint is brought to you by Bill's Heating and Air Conditioning.
It is 6:53 on the dot. Time to get you ready to take on your Friday with the morning sprint. Today, the U.S. is expected to announce it will provide cluster bombs to Ukraine. Sydney Charles has the details. Lavender is in bloom. Destiny Richards is live showing us around a lavender farm on the bluff. But let's get to Mark's forecast heading into a hot weekend.
All right, the good news on this in our first alert weather is the fact that we indeed do have good air quality this morning. And latest check, it's still remaining in good and should remain there throughout the day. We have a highs today. They're going to be in the mid-90s, and you see there 94 in the valley. We're going to have 92 officially. Spangle at 91 degrees. We get to our forecast for the day, and we're going to continue to have temperatures up to 92.
Spokane County SWAT team found a man wanted out of Stevens County for child sexual assault dead in a Spokane Valley home. The sheriff's office responded to a home on Long Road in Indiana around 7:30 to check for the man. They say when they got there, a man who they believed they were looking for ran inside. Deputies say they heard a loud bang. SWAT and crisis negotiators were called to the scene. SWAT eventually entered the home, found that man dead from a possible self-inflicted gunshot wound. The Spokane County Medical Examiner will release that man's name at a later time. We now know who is accused of threatening to detonate a bomb on a flight from Atlanta to Seattle Wednesday. The FBI says Brandon Scott passed a note to a flight attendant threatening to detonate explosives and kill everyone on board if the pilot did not reroute the plane to another airport. Well, the plane made an emergency landing here in Spokane where Scott was arrested. No explosives were found on that plane. Scott says the reason he fabricated this bomb threat was because members of the Sinaloa cartel were waiting for him in Seattle, and this was his plan to change the plane's destination. Scott is facing federal charges of false information and hoaxes. If convicted, he could face 5 years in prison. The trial for the North Central boys basketball coach Andre Irvin is set to begin in September. He pleaded not guilty yesterday to sexual misconduct charges. According to court documents, two 16-year-old girls told police Irvin made sexually explicit comments to them and goes on to say that there was also unwanted touching. You could read more about the case, including the school district's response, on KXLY.com.
The U.S. is expected to announce today that it will provide controversial cluster bombs to Ukraine as part of a new military aid package in the fight against Russian invaders. The cluster munitions could be a critical asset for Ukraine's ongoing counteroffensive, which President Volodymyr Zelensky says he wants done faster. Cluster munitions are shells packed with smaller bombs that explode and strike targets across a wide area. The munitions are highly criticized because they can also leave unexploded fragments behind, risking injury and death to civilians. Right now, it is not clear how America's NATO allies would view the U.S. providing cluster bombs to Ukraine.
The U.S. economy added 209,000 jobs in June, missing Wall Street estimates and reflecting a slowdown from the previous month. Economists surveyed by Bloomberg had expected the 225,000 non-farm payroll jobs were added in June. In May, the U.S. economy added 339,000 jobs. The June unemployment rate was 3.6%, down from 3.7% in May. In response to the dry conditions, Avista has turned its power lines to fire safety mode. During normal operations, the lines are set to try several times to clear a fault, reducing outage times. But in fire safety mode, the line stays out until Avista crews determine it is safe. This can require more time to restore service, but decreases the potential fire danger.
This morning, we have been live on Green Bluff at Fleur de Provence Lavender Farm talking about You Pick Lavender. Here you can pick your own lavender. You can buy lavender that's already pre-cut. You can also cut sunflowers and dahlias and all sorts of things. You can go to our website, KXLY.com. They're going to be open on Fridays and Saturdays through August.
You may have seen this group protesting downtown. It's a union representing more than 300 EMTs, paramedics, dispatchers, and ambulance mechanics who work for American Medical Response in Spokane. The union is in the process of negotiating contracts that ended June 30th, but they say it's not going well. If the union goes on strike, getting an ambulance in Spokane in an emergency could be very challenging. AMR Spokane released a statement regarding negotiations, which you can read right now on KXLY.com. So much of life feels like it is back to normal after the COVID pandemic, but for so many people, jobs and careers changed. If your professional life was impacted, we want to hear from you. Share your story with us on KXLY.com. The Downtown Spokane Partnership hosts its First Friday event today. It highlights local businesses and local art scenes. You can see live music, product launches, and specialty food and beverages. We'll be back.